Hello, I'm Gil Zilkha, and welcome to my channel. This is my series entitled Essential Classical Music, where we look at the best recordings of the major classical music works. This video is taken out of my larger video where I cover the major concerto recordings. And if you enjoy this, I hope you'll take the time to also watch that larger one. Just know that you don't have to watch the entire thing in one big long take. It is divided into chapters, so it's really easy to just click through and view whichever work you're curious about. So I hope you enjoy it. Now let's talk about Grieg, a Norwegian composer who composed one of the iconic piano concertos. I'll try to give you a taste. This is probably going to come out horribly, but it has this iconic beginning. Let's see here. Okay, I told you. I'm not a professional pianist, but I do try sometimes. But I was hoping to give you a taste just that, in case you don't automatically know what the Grieg concerto is, you might be like, oh, that's what the Grieg concerto is. It's obviously a real powerhouse, romantic piece. But it's also, there's that dramatic opening, but it also has a lot of poetry to it as well. A lot of wonderful versions of this concerto. I'm going to start with my prime recommendation. Now, I'm going to mention several that are paired with the Schumann piano concerto. I would say outside of the Debussy and Ravel string quartets, there is not another set of pieces that's more often paired together, kind of linked together than these two. Maybe you can think of some other examples. But the Grieg and Schumann piano concertos are often recorded together, and my prime recommendation for that pairing is this one from Leon Fleischer and George Zell. Again, with the Cleveland Orchestra. This is from 1960. Again, we've already seen them before with Beethoven and Brahms. I would say this is maybe even their strongest collaboration. It is just electric. Right out the gate with that famous opening, and then Fleischer also supplies the poetic artistry in that beautiful slow movement as well. And then the last movement is exciting. George Zell and the Cleveland Orchestra just really bring it. So this is really, I think, a fantastic way to get to know these pieces. Now there are other ways of doing it as well. You might say the more demure version, comparatively speaking, is my next choice. This is one that I really do love. This is from Solomon, someone that you may not associate with a work like Grieg. This was recorded in 1956 in fairly good sounding stereo. It's got a good depth and good warmth to it. This is with Herbert Menges and the Philharmonia. And this is a little bit more of a poetic, I say sensitive version, but I like that. I like the fact that it's not just this virtuosic showpiece, but there's a lot of beauty and warmth to it as well. Not that he's any slouch when it comes to the dramatic, powerful parts. So this is a great version. Another version that I would say sort of mixes the power and the poetry in very good sound is Radu Lupu, another pianist who is a probing pianist. Nothing is ever just simply tossed off. He's a very good in the romantic repertoire. Does wonderful Brahms and Schubert as well. This is with André Previn and the London Symphony, beautifully recorded, very sumptuous sound. The orchestra does a great job. It's a very sort of a really good example of just romantic interpretation. Very plush, and it's really a strong contender for both of these concertos. Another lovely version came from Stephen Kovacevic. This is from 1971 with Colin Davis and the BBC Symphony. Now this is one that I would say similar to Solomon. It doesn't just hit you over the head and bowl you over. This one is one that I would say the power kind of builds more slowly, kind of picks their spots a little bit more, maybe emphasizes the more beautiful poetic parts, but then it still ends very powerfully and dramatically as well, beautifully recorded. So I would say this is also a top choice for the Grieg concerto. Now, going back a little further, we also have both concertos played in mono from the 1940s by a brilliant pianist, Dino Lippati. Lippati was a virtuoso of the first rank, who also was just a real inventive artist. Play the slow movements beautifully as well. Really exciting pianist. This is the Grieg is played with the Philharmonia, conducted by Alceo Galliera, and it was recorded in 1947. 40s sound. It's going to be a little bit dim, but it's still one that you're going to want to hear for Lippati's magical artistry. Now, a couple of versions that are not paired with the Schumann concerto. One is really one of the strongest Grieg concerto recordings from Clifford Curzon. This is recorded in 1959. Wonderful Decca sound. The London Symphony under Alfinn Fjellstad. They're recorded with just such immediacy, such presence. It's really that opening, for example, it just really comes, leaps out of the speakers. But then Curzon adds that, he has the powerful virtuosity, but he also has that beautiful touch. So this is a wonderful version. It's a shame that it's only the Grieg. And then finally, for my money, the most exciting Grieg concerto recording of all, even though it comes from way back in 1933, is Wilhelm Backhaus, who we've talked about earlier. This is with John Barbaroli and some group called the New Symphony Orchestra. I'm not sure exactly who they are. It's such an old recording, they might have had a hard time tracking it down. But this is just on fire. Backhaus just plays lights out. To me, it's the most exciting Grieg concerto that I've ever heard, despite the dim sound. The middle movement is a little bit on the fast side, but he does it in such an artful way that it still sounds poetic and beautiful. And then that finale just knocks your socks off. So another great recording that is worth seeking out despite the old sound. Now let's talk about Schumann's piano concerto, which in a way we've already discussed this because we talked about the Grieg concerto. And so I'm going to start with 5 versions that pair them together that I've already discussed, and I'll just kind of repeat them here. First we have Leon Fleischer, George Zell, Cleveland Orchestra. It's fantastic, very like the Grieg. The interpretation is very assertive and dramatic and exciting. Then we have Solomon, who gives us more of the sort of more gentle side, but even especially I would say in the Schumann, even more than the Grieg, I think this is actually my favorite version overall, because it's a very probing interpretation, and just Solomon was just such a unique artistic mind that for me this one actually makes me love the Schumann concerto more than just about any recording I've heard. Similar things I could say about this one. Lupu with Andrei Previn and London Symphony, just beautifully lush and romantic. Also, we have, again, Kovacevic with Colin Davis from 1971. This one, again, like I said about the Grieg, it's not as overtly dramatic as, say, the Fleischer-Zell, but it picks its spots, and it's very beautiful, and I think still one of the reference recordings. Going back a little further into Monoland, we have Dino Lippati. This one is with, before we said the Grieg was with Galliera, this is with Herbert von Karajan and the Philharmonia, recorded in 1948. And again, Lippati is just a virtuosic genius. And Karajan supports him very, very well. This is a young Karajan when he was just getting his feet wet in the recording studio, but he does a fantastic job as well. This one, the recording quality is still a little bit dim. It's 1940s, but it's not too bad, fairly clear. Now, before leaving the Schumann concerto, I want to recommend one more, and let's see if I can find it here. Okay. Alfred Cortot, again, an interpretive genius, almost like, makes it sound like he's composing the music himself on the spot. Very spontaneous, wonderful Schumann interpreter. This recording is from 1934, so it's rather dim. It's with Landon Ronald and the London Philharmonic, but if you love the Schumann Concerto, this is well worth it for Cortot's artistic insights. Just a real a giant personality, Cortot is. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, I hope you'll also take time to click the like and subscribe buttons. And with that, I want to wish you all a great day and happy listening.